Welcome to Kitten Crochet. So I'm going to show just a little small version of this cowl pattern just to show you how to do the increases and decreases to make the chevron pattern. So this is the same yarn I used in the actual cowl. This is Queensland Collection United Lamb's Wool Cotton Blend and a size F crochet hook. So to start, so I'm going to make just a much smaller chain than what I used in that pattern. You could theoretically do this with any odd number of stitches, but I'm just doing a chain of, I think I did 13 here. So to start, I'm going to chain 3, and that counts as a double crochet. Double crochet in the same place, and again in the same place. So I'm working 3 double crochet into that chain. Okay, now for the next 3 stitches, I'm just going to work regular double crochet. And now I'm going to double crochet 5 together. So I'm going to pick up a loop in the first stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, but don't finish the double crochet. Then I'll do the same thing in the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 partially finished double crochets. Now I'll yarn over and pull through all of those stitches. Now for the next 3 stitches, I'm just working regular double crochet. Okay, and then you'll work 3 double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, and I forgot to mention that I find it really helpful in this pattern to place a stitch marker in my turn chain. So I'm going to put this stitch marker back in my turn chain from my very first stitch. And you can see that I've already got a really nice chevron shape. And so this cowl is just a much bigger chevron than what I made here. And you should still have 13 stitches. If you count your stitches, there should still be 13 every row. Okay, so now I'm going to do a chain 3 and turn. And this round I'm going to do, or this row, I'm going to do front post double crochet. So yarn over, I'm going to go around this front post. Yes, this is the same stitch I just did the chain 3 out of, but remember I'm going to do 3 stitches in this first. So here's stitch number 2 and stitch number 3. So I did 2 front post double crochets around this first stitch. My chain 3 also counts as a stitch, and I'm going to put a stitch marker in that. So that counts as 3 stitches worked into the first stitch. I did a chain 3 and then 2 front post double crochets. And on this front row, you probably just noticed that I was just twisting it around. It kind of wants to flip because of those front post stitches, but make sure you're working along the back. So for the next 3 stitches, I'm just going to do regular front post double crochet. Okay, now I'm going to do front post double crochet 5 together. So let's see how that looks. We're going to yarn over, go around this post. So this is like a regular front post double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, but don't finish the stitch. We're stopping at the last part of the stitch. Again, around the next post. Stop at the last part. Now this double crochet, this next one, is really weird because this big decrease from the last stitch is our post. So we're going to yarn over and start a hook around that entire double crochet 5 together. Yarn over, pull through a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. And now we need 2 more, so that was the 3rd stitch. 2 more front post double crochets in this decrease. So it is definitely a little weird to do a front post double around that. So you should have 6 loops on your hook, your starting loop, and then 5 for each of the 5 double crochets that you've done part of. Now we'll yarn over and pull through. So that is a front post double crochet 5 together. Whew, crazy. Okay. Now for the next 3 stitches, we're just going to double crochet, do front post double crochet. And so in the cowl, you just do a different number of post stitches on the sides here. The decreases in the middle and on the edges are exactly the same in the cowl as for this sample. Okay, now we're on the last stitch. The last stitch is going to be 2 front post double crochets and then 1 regular double crochet. So without getting my stitch marker, a front post double crochet, a front post double crochet, and this is why it's important to place that stitch marker, because sometimes it's hard to find that loop. This is the top of that chain 3, and I'm going to work my last stitch into the top of that chain 3 that was my starting chain. So again, I should still have 13 stitches. My first and my last have 2 front post stitches and 1 regular. So now I'll chain 3 and turn. That chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and you can see now that we've got this ridge. So that is formed by all of those post stitches pushing the top of the stitch towards the other side of the work. So it creates just this really fun texture. Alright, so now I'm going to work 2 more regular double crochets in the same stitch, so that I start with 3 worked into my first stitch. And I will place a stitch marker in the top of my turn chain so that when I come back I can find the top of that stitch. Now the next 3 stitches are regular double crochet. And obviously here I'm not doing the color changes like I would in the cowl, but you can see the instructions for that. Okay, now it's time for a double crochet 5 together. So start with the first stitch here, not going to finish it, second stitch. The third stitch is the top of this decrease from the last row. Fourth stitch, and fifth stitch. I'll yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. Now the next 3 stitches are regular double crochet. And 3 double crochet worked into my last stitch. And try your best to go through both loops on that. There was one row on mine where I only went through 1 loop, and you can totally tell. So try and go through both loops of your turn chain, which is another reason that stitch marker helps so much, because otherwise it can pull really tight and be hard to do. So I'm doing 3 double crochet in my turn chain. So again, I should have 13 stitches still. Every row on my tiny little sample here has 13 stitches. Every row on the actual cowl always has the same stitch count. I'll do 1 more row here. So this cowl is done in sets of 2 rows. It's a repeating pattern of 2 rows. So turn chain, and now I need 2 front post triple crochets along that first stitch. Sorry, not front post triple crochets, front post double crochets. And I'm going to place a stitch marker in my turn chain, going through both loops, so that I have it ready when I come back. Alright, next 3 stitches are regular front post double crochet. And now for my front post double crochet 5 together. Yarn over, get my first post, but don't finish the double crochet. Number 2. The third stitch is my decrease from the previous row, so I'm going to go around that whole decrease as my post. Now I need 2 more. And we'll finish it by doing a yarn over and pulling through all 6. Next 3 stitches are regular front post double crochets. And the last stitch gets 2 front post double crochets. And then 1 double crochet in the top of my turn chain. It can be helpful if you make those turn chains a little bit loose, which I have a tendency to forget to do, but it does make it easier to work into them if they're a little bit looser. Okay, so that is 2 repeats of this pattern. We've got this nice V shape going on. The back will not have that V shape, but I think it has this cool texture. So this is the back side of the cowl, the full-size cowl. And you can see it doesn't have those V's, but it almost looks like there's just 1 row of each color on the back because of the front post stitches, which I think is kind of neat. And so here's the front. You've got these V's. Alright, so I hope this video helps you if you're struggling a little bit with the increases and decreases on this cowl. And I'd love to see your finished projects. Happy crocheting!